Hey, what's up, y'all? Have a unique opportunity here as I'm in the process of doing a home inspection on this home. While some contractors were also in the process of making repairs to this foundation for this home. I want to show you a couple things just so you can kind of see it from a home inspector's perspective. When you purchase a home, you got to be really careful who you hire. Okay, so there's lots of potential signs for foundation problems. Most common one in our area in West Texas is typically cracks on brick veneer on the exterior. Now, this brick veneer is not structural. It's just the covering for the exterior of the home. But a lot of times it will show what's going on behind. And as you can see, just from what I've showed you here, this is a pretty good sized wall. There's no cracks whatsoever on this wall. Okay, so that side they've already made repairs and filled in, quote unquote repairs. Looking at this wall over here, not a whole lot to see over here either, defect wise, visually. You can see a little bit of separation at these windows. You can see that gap there, right there between the brick veneer and the window itself, but definitely not a huge gap. Okay, so on the interior of the home, we have some small cracks. There's a small crack above this doorway. Kind of the same thing on the opposite side. That's pretty common. Really not much else in this room. And this is the room we were looking at from the outside. You know, you have a straight line crack there, a little bit of separation in this corner. Really not much of anything in here. I'm trying to avoid showing personal belongings if I can help it. So you can see, you know, there's not a lot of significant stuff on the outside. There's not a lot of significant indications on the inside. Probably the most significant one is this one right here. Okay, so why does this matter? You're probably asking. Why this matters is because there's a lot of these foundation repair companies, and I've covered this before on other videos and blog posts on my website. There's a lot of these foundation repair companies that are going around preying on unsuspecting homeowners. In other words, in the case of like this home, this is a perfect example. This home has had multiple inspections, and each inspector has called out the potential for foundation problems, which I can say, you know, I see why. Like we showed you there in the earlier video, part of the video, separation at that window and brick veneer. That's pretty minor. That's definitely not a huge defect. That's a really minor one so far. That doesn't mean there's not a foundation problem. It just means you really have to be looking. So anyway, every home buyer walked away from every one of those home sale contracts because of these defects and because of the potential for the foundation problems, from what I understand. So in swoops this foundation repair company, and they're just like all the rest. There's none that are better or worse. And now this homeowner's paying thousands of dollars for these repairs. The problem with that is, as you saw earlier in this video, there's no visual indications of a foundation problem other than these really minor separations. So what happened, I can almost guarantee you in this situation, is most of these foundation repair companies don't employ structural engineers. So it was somebody with a level, and I saw the guy here earlier. He had a spirit level, which is one of those long levels you use for framing or whatever, and that's how he was measuring whether the foundation was level. Not pulling up carpet, nothing. So can you imagine how off that measurement is just using a spirit level? That's not an accurate measurement. A structural engineer would bring in a zip level and do all kinds of measurements, including soil samples probably. These guys did none of that, and this homeowner's out thousands of dollars because of that. The problem, in addition to that, is if repairs weren't needed in the first place, this is only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. So whereas maybe it was a really minor problem, now it could potentially be a major problem. And a lot of these companies have really limited warranties. What's going to happen with this home when this next home buyer decides to sell someday? So you got to ask yourself as a home buyer, you really got to do your research. And just because these companies advertise on TV or on the internet or whatever, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean they even know what they're talking about. You got to be really leery of these companies because they're just everywhere in Texas right now, especially in West Texas. And just be mindful of the fact that just because there's some small cracks here and there, that's not the end of the world. And that's really common. Look at your, in this case of this home, we could look at these neighboring homes and see the exact same problems. That doesn't mean all of them have foundation problems. It just means there's been some settlement. That's part of life. This home's 60 years old. How much do we change in 60 years? So just something to think about. Hope you guys will take that into account when you're making a home purchase or when you're considering a contractor to hire. And most importantly, if you're hiring a home inspector, make sure you hire experienced ones. There's a lot of really inexperienced inspectors out there right now that are working part-time as a home inspector and full-time doing something else. Would you hire a part-time doctor or a part-time nurse? Of course not. Or a part-time mechanic. You're going to hire the full-time person that does it to make a living, not somebody who's looking for money to go fishing or make a car payment. So just be mindful of that when you guys are shopping around for contractors, for home inspectors, for a home, for an agent. Be mindful of that. Hire the professional. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for your time.